hardship, mystery, and a sprinkle of Russian steampunk. This is just some of what Teslagrad has to offer. Released in 2013 by Norwegian indie developer Rain Games, there is a good chance you have not heard of this game. I did not know of this game until I got the opportunity to play a little of it during a lesson on independent games in one of my courses at school. Cool, right? In that session, my classmates and I overcame the first boss after dozens of failures. After the thrill of beating the game's first boss, I knew I had to check Teslagrad out on my own time. When I finished my 4-hour experience, I was blown away by how much I enjoyed this short indie game. As I was playing this game, I reflected on times in my game development class and could not help myself but to analyze it. Teslagrad's combination of mysterious setting and focused gameplay mechanics make it a great game to learn from for aspiring game developers. Teslagrad starts off with a runaway sequence where a nameless boy, the player, must escape capture with no UI or dialogue. The only controls available to the player are running and jumping. This introduces mechanics to the player in a context where they can learn the physics of the game and create a feel for the distances and judgments of their jumps. Some of the jumps in the sequence are not trivial and actually require precise timing, a theme that is revisited later on. Additional gameplay mechanics come from items the player attains throughout the game. These are spread throughout the length of the game and create variety in the gameplay. Each item holds viability and their powers must be combined with other items to progress. Most of the items involve the magnetism mechanic introduced early in the game. Two colors, red and blue, work as magnets that manipulate the environments and provide tricky and fun puzzles for the player. The magnetism mechanic allows for clever level design and unique platforming puzzles that require precise horizontal and vertical traversal. It is up to the player to initially figure out how the mechanics work, but after experimentation, it is easy to figure out that similar colors repel each other and opposites attract. Platforming puzzles dominate gameplay in an incrementally difficult way until the player encounters one of the 5 difficult boss fights throughout the game. Some surprising moments about Teslagrad are the challenging boss fights. Since there are only 5 bosses in the whole game, each one feels unique and has a place in the story. These bosses require the player to master the mechanics that they have been learning throughout the puzzle platformer portion of the game. The key to winning the boss battle usually involves the most recent item the player has, but later boss battles require the player to combo their items together to exploit the boss's weaknesses. Since the player character dies in one hit, the player must master their movements, the item's ability, and learn the boss's moveset. This constant juggle can potentially create frustration, but the player will feel rewarded once they have overcome the challenge. The boss fights are a highlight of Teslagrad's quality gameplay design because it is up to the player to increase their skill and overcome the challenge. Since the player dies in one hit, they have to flawlessly beat the boss, even though it might take you a dozen tries or so. While at times I thought the one-hit death mechanic was a little unforgiving, I remembered that I'm playing as a scared little boy experimenting with magnetism and electricity. So of course that stuff's gonna mess me up. The other side of Teslagrad's good game design is its story and presentation. In general, players do not like front loads of exposition thrown in their face explaining why they should care about the story or so-and-so character. Teslagrad has no dialogue and uses visuals to present most of the story. These visuals include paintings, drawings, and cute little animated puppet shows. The player can also collect scrolls throughout the game that give little bits of lore and story. These storytelling elements require the player to piece together a mystery in order to figure out what happened in the past and the villain's intentions for the future. The story has multiple endings depending on how many scrolls the player collects, which is pretty neat. At one point, the player needs a certain number of scrolls to progress, and going back and collecting all the scrolls I missed wasn't my favorite part of the game. While I was not the biggest fan of this game design decision, I see how it can appeal to fans of Metroidvania games or achiever-type players who want to 100% the games they play. Teslagrad is a true hidden gem of a game. In an experience lasting only a few hours, players will be challenged but eventually rewarded when they master the game's mechanics. The interesting story and difficult boss fights show that the developers paid attention to detail and good game design practices by focusing their design to a narrow experience. By giving the player agency and burden, they feel like they are improving their skills when they progress. There is a lot to unpack here in this little game called Teslagrad. Developers, video game analysts, and video game enthusiasts will all find a valuable experience in this game. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and comment to let me know if you would like to see more of these types of videos. Subscribe if you have not already, and follow me on Twitch. My Twitch is twitch.tv/odgoon, where you can see my handsome face and me goof around in some games. Thank you all for watching, and good day.